Meet Macbeth, a podcaster. His show, Macbeth's Musings, wasn't popular, but he dreamed big, like, buy a private island big. His studio, parents' basement. One day, in the woods, he met TikTok witches. They prophesied he'd be king. King? His viral moment. Macbeth practically teleported home, his mind racing faster than his terrible Wi-Fi connection. He had to tell Lady Macbeth. She was his wife, his rock, his unofficial but very ambitious PR manager. Think Olivia Rodrigo's good for you energy but channeled into, like, aggressive career advancement. Lady M was an influencer in her own right. Her grid was all #boss babe aesthetics and #power couple goals, even if their current power was mostly just keeping their ancient router alive. She was all about that aspirational content, you know?
Babe, it's not. It's aggressive restructuring, a strategic acquisition for the throne.
She got his frantic DMs about the witches and the whole king thing, and guess what? King Duncan, the actual current king, was planning a visit to their house. Their very small, slightly damp, definitely not a palace house, for a royal sleepover or whatever. Lady Macbeth didn't just see a guest, she saw an opportunity. The witch's prophecy wasn't just some spooky forest encounter. Oh no, it was a business plan, a content strategy. She could practically taste the coronation, the brand deals, the exclusive magazine covers. This was their glow-up moment. People? Macbeth, bless his heart, was a little hesitant.
Are you a king or just a commenter?
Murder? He typed back, probably with shaky hands. Isn't that like super illegal and like really bad for my personal brand? Think of the cancellation potential. He was already picturing the angry comments and the unfollows. Lady Macbeth practically eye-rolled through the phone, so dramatic. She told him to man up, or more accurately, king up. It was go time. She went full motivational speaker on him, questioned his ambition, his courage, his ability to even choose a decent Netflix show. She had that look in her eye, the one that said, resistance is futile, and also, I've already picked out our coronation outfits. She was probably already drafting the Insta announcement, complete with a perfectly curated filter, #new era. Macbeth felt the pressure, the FOMO, the sheer force of his wife's ambition. Fine, slay, what could go wrong? So, they did the deed. Duncan was logged off, permanently. Macbeth was now King Macbeth. But then, the paranoia started. He started seeing things. Was that a dagger? He couldn't sleep. He was chugging Red Bull. The anxiety was real, and it was not a good look.
Unfollow me in real life. Permanently, yikes.
He became obsessed with Banquo, his former BFF. The witches had also said Banquo's kids would be kings. Excuse me? Not on Macbeth's watch. He couldn't have anyone stealing his spotlight. So, he hired some sketchy dudes. Their mission? To unfollow Banquo. Permanently. The paranoia just got worse. Every creak in the castle sounded like an assassin. Every whisper felt like a subtweet. He was constantly checking his follower count. He was jumpy. He was basically that gif of the confused John Travolta. This whole being king thing? Way more stressful than getting good engagement.
Meanwhile, I wasn't exactly living my best queen life either. The guilt was hitting me hard, like a really bad viral challenge I couldn't escape. I thought being queen would be all about glamorous state dinners and exclusive designer collaborations. Instead, it was just blood, metaphorical blood mostly, but still. I started washing my hands, a lot, like obsessively. My followers on TikTok were starting to ask if I was sponsored by a new organic soap brand. Awkward. The #queen life was not what the brochure promised. Then came the sleep talking. But this wasn't just like mumbling about my dreams. Oh no, I started giving full-blown TED Talks in my sleep, in my silk pajamas, about power, ambition, guilt, and surprisingly detailed instructions on how to get stubborn stains out of, very old tapestries. My terrified lady-in-waiting started recording them. Secretly, of course. She was thinking of starting a YouTube channel. Lady M's Midnight Confessions. It had viral potential. For all the wrong reasons, obviously.
Macbeth decided to throw a huge dinner party. You know, to prove he was a totally normal, chill, and not at all murderous king. Good vibes only. He had the best caterers. He curated a killer playlist, no pun intended. He even had those fancy folded napkins that look like swans. But then, guess who decided to crash the party? Banquo's ghost. So rude. And plot twist, only Macbeth could see him. The ghost just sat there, in Macbeth's reserved seat, probably silently judging the hors d'oeuvres. The nerve.
You can't sit with us.
Macbeth completely lost it. He started yelling at an empty chair. You can't sit with us, he shrieked, channeling his inner mean girl. The guests were like totally bewildered.
He's just, exploring performance art, very avant-garde.
But the damage was done. The party was a certified disaster. The vibes were officially off. Cancelled, just like Banquo. Too soon? Definitely too soon for Macbeth's sanity. Macbeth was officially spiraling. He was a mess. He needed answers. He needed reassurance. He needed someone to tell him it was all going to be okay, even though it clearly wasn't. So he decided to find those TikTok witches again. After several frustrating hours of searching, his castle Wi-Fi was still surprisingly glitchy for a royal residence. He tracked them down. And honey, they'd had a glow-up. They weren't just random forest witches anymore. Oh no, they were running a Patreon, Weird Sisters Inc. They had tiers, exclusive content, prophecy bundles, even merch, so entrepreneurial. Naturally, Macbeth subscribed to their highest tier. The Royal AF package, probably. He needed those premium prophecies stat. The witches were like super smug about their newfound success.
Beware, Macduff.
Okay, noted. Macduff was definitely on his frenemies list.
No man born of woman shall harm Macbeth.
Yes, jackpot. He loved a good loophole. This was amazing news. He felt invincible, like he just unlocked a secret cheat code in a video game. He was totally going to win this whole king thing. He was the main character after all. This was his story, right?
Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Burnham Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him.
A whole forest moving? LOL? As if. That was like scientifically impossible. Unless it was some kind of super advanced augmented reality filter, and he doubted the 11th century had that tech. Macbeth was feeling good. Cocky even. These witches? Totally worth the monthly subscription fee. Their customer service was a bit slow, but the prophecies? Or so he thought. So Macduff? Yeah, he was not having a good time. Macbeth, in a fit of paranoid rage, had like totally unalived his entire family. Super not cool. So Macduff was on a mission. A revenge mission. He wanted to cancel Macbeth. For good. He teamed up with Malcolm, who was King Duncan's son and the rightful heir. They were gathering an army. They were coming for the throne. And they had a plan. A very, very green plan. Think eco-warrior but with swords. Macbeth, meanwhile, was chilling in his castle. Dunsinane, probably live-streaming his day in the life of a totally secure and not at all doomed king. He was feeling pretty safe, pretty smug. That whole no man born of woman can harm me thing? It was his new mantra. His lock screen. Probably his bio on all his now private social media. And the forest moving? Please. He had more important things to worry about. Like why his latest TikTok, a tour of the royal dungeon, was getting such low engagement. The algorithm, man. Then a scout runs in, totally out of breath, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Or worse, a really bad influencer apology video.
Sir, my king, the forest, it's moving.
Macbeth was like, dude, have you been hitting the fermented grape juice a bit hard? But then he looked out the window and OMG, it actually did look like Burnham Wood was like literally walking towards them. How was this happening? Turns out the soldiers were using branches as camouflage, an old school trick, but super effective, like a really good analog filter for an army. Macbeth's face utterly shook. The battle was on. It was loud. It was chaotic. Macbeth was still fighting though. He was clinging to that not born of woman prophecy, like it was the last charger at a party. He finally confronts Macduff.
You can't beat me. I'm like magically protected by a Patreon subscription. Read the terms and conditions.
Macduff just smirked. That kind of smirk that says, oh honey, you have no idea.
About that, I was from my mother's womb untimely ripped.
Translation, C-section baby, a technicality, the ultimate prophecy loophole. Macbeth's jaw hit the floor. Plot twist. While Macbeth was having his battlefield meltdown, Lady Macbeth had completely checked out. Her infamous sleep TED Talks had devolved into incoherent, mumbled ramblings, mostly about spots and blood, and how she desperately wished there was an undo button for like her entire life post-Duncan. She was a hot mess. Her loyal PR intern had finally quit, probably to find a less homicidal client. Her once perfectly curated Instagram feed was now a ghost town. It was tragic. But also like, what did she really expect? Karma's a witch too sometimes. A very patient, very thorough witch. Back on the battlefield, Macbeth was reeling. The C-section reveal? That was a low blow. Literally and figuratively. He finally realized those TikTok witches had played him. Their prophecies were full of hidden clauses and tiny print, and he, like a total noob, had just skimmed the terms and conditions before clicking agree. Classic user error. He fought Macduff but his heart wasn't in it anymore. His invincibility cheat code had just expired, and there were no refunds. Bummer. Macduff, fueled by righteous anger, a thirst for justice, and probably a lot of pre-battle energy drinks, defeated Macbeth. It was dramatic, there was sword clanging, there were probably some epic slow-motion action shots if this were a movie. Macbeth died. His last thought was probably something like, should have read the reviews for Weird Sisters Inc. before subscribing, or maybe, well, at least I trended on Twitter for a hot minute. So tragic, so very Gen Z. His reign was over, cancelled, for good. So, what's the moral of this totally tragic, super dramatic, and slightly ridiculous story? Well, first off, never ever trust witches who use ring lights and have a tiered Patreon system. They're probably just in it for the clout and the monthly recurring revenue. And second, always read the fine print in prophecies, contracts, and especially those super long terms of service agreements.